Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings, to the WeAreChange news show. And on this episode, we're going to try to explain to you the bigger psychological operation PSYOP happening right now in order to control the free flow of information. It should be easy. So personally, I believe we're at a major cornerstone when it comes to human civilization, when for the first time ever, human beings could talk to each other without any censors, without any filters, without any controllers. And the power of information has finally been decentralized from the powers to be to all the people and everyone. But with everything happening right now, especially online with entities like YouTube and Google, people need to realize that yes, there are powerful special interest groups out there that do strive to control you and manipulate you. And I think what we're seeing right now is a very sophisticated smear campaign against the decentralization of information. And I hate to say this, but I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. Especially on this YouTube channel, telling you guys that YouTube and Facebook and all these other mass media tech establishment companies out there, that ultimately you will not be notified of the truth, and it will not be in your timeline or in any of these major institutions. And years ago, I was telling everyone YouTube will not be a space for critical free thinkers, that our time is limited here. And personally, I am not surprised with what is happening right now, which we will get into later in this video. And I have to remind everyone that you guys are more important than you think, especially when it comes to you voting not only with your dollar and supporting real independent media and information you like when they get demonetized, but also with your clicks, your likes, your shares, and seeking out alternatives like Steemit, which we have been using for a long time and will actually contain every single source of news that we talked about in this video. The link to that post, by the way, will be in the description of this video, in the comment section of this video, and also on my personal Twitter account. Now let's actually get into the meat and potatoes of what I'm trying to explain to you, because there's a lot to understand. Just recently, because of investigative journalist Cheryl Atkinson, we found out that it was Google and Eric Schmidt who convinced Facebook to join their campaign that they started against, quote, fake news. It was ultimately Eric Schmidt and Google who spearheaded this movement in order for special interests to have more control of the dialogue. As Cheryl explains, it was actually Eric Schmidt with Google that were the big donors behind the nonprofit First Draft that spearheaded the term fake news right before the US presidential election. And according to Cheryl, Hillary Clinton soon jumped on the anti-fake news train, with her surrogate, David Brooke of Media Matters, privately telling donors that he was the one who convinced Facebook to join their effort. Now, of course, this was only the beginning of a propaganda campaign that is really about the control of information for special interests. Now, of course, Eric Schmidt was doing this as he was also the head of a new Pentagon Innovation Board, which is working to make the Department of Defense more tech savvier. And in this campaign, we are seeing Facebook, Google, special interest, intelligence agencies, and the mainstream media work very cohesively together towards a goal that would benefit all of them. To understand this point a little bit clearer, you have to understand mass media conglomerates don't work for you. They work for those in power, and they're not there for your benefit. And even their own coverage of the recent horrible shooting that happened in Florida is creating the copycat effect. We talked about this at length in a previous video on how to stop more mass shootings from happening with simply changing your coverage, which the majority of the mainstream media still has not, and is a huge generator of clicks and views for them. We also have to understand that there's a big layer of hypocrisy when the mainstream media in the United States emotionally pulls at your heartstrings about the death of innocent school children, but yet neglects to tell you that your own tax dollars are causing unseen number of death and suffering for children all around the world in the name of a fake war on terror that is still brewing indefinitely in places like Yemen that the mainstream media overall just blanketly ignores. And while this hypocrisy only escalates, we also have to understand that a lot of what we see online could be very easily manipulated, as admittedly governments all around the world hire people to put fake comments, fake likes, fake views, fake engagement for, of course, their agenda, and of course, this sway anyone going against them. And while all that is happening, anyone who decides to see things differently and to question things, their videos are now automatically censored and deleted from what people believe to be a public utility, YouTube, with now people not being able to express themselves freely and Google ultimately deciding what is true and what is not. While, of course, catering to the mainstream media establishment companies that have been wrong so many times, lead us to war, protect the banksters, and ultimately serve special interests that take care of their bottom line. Now, of course, the mainstream media is seizing whatever opportunities they have, calling for more mass censorship, using more aggressive actions as time goes on, which personally we've been hit with for years now, with people not getting our notifications, being unsubscribed, being demonetized, and even a month ago, having a strike on our channel because of a fake CNN claim against us when we weren't using their video at all that took away our live streaming abilities. And now everyone is being hit or even just terminated, like the Richie Allen show that decided to permanently delete his channel after a third strike was put on a video where he interviewed Mike Rivero, who in the video said that another shooting that happened in Virginia at the time was not a false flag. Bombard's Body Language YouTube channel was also terminated without explanation. Videos are being taken down. Mark Dice even received a strike from a 3-year-old video, and so did Tim Pool when he criticized the mainstream media for getting it wrong during the Florida shooting. And these are just some of the instances that are even too many to mention in this video of what's happening right now online. And granted, yes, there are some idiotic people out there who do spew bullcrap, who do get their facts wrong, who are sensational, who are wrong. People who have no emotional intelligence at all, creating content that I cold-heartedly disagree with. But it's not just those people who are getting hit. It's pretty much everyone who's not tied into the establishment mainstream media, who, by the way, are not held responsibly by YouTube for their incorrect reporting, which does happen. And again, this is leading to a very dangerous situation. For example, if YouTube was doing what they were doing right before the Iraq war, right after 9/11, they would of course go with the authoritative voices, the mainstream media that was telling us that there was weapons of mass destructions, and the voices that were predominantly on the line, obscured from the mainstream media, telling people that the war in Iraq was a bad idea. Those voices would probably be censored as much as they are right now. That, of course, is my own personal assumption, but I don't think it's a stretch from the imagination with how the mainstream media and Google is acting right now. And right now, more than ever, we need more independent media than ever, especially when it comes to holding authority accountable, which the mainstream media fails time and time again to do. And questioning authority is very important right now, since after the recent events in Florida, they are calling for more responsibility, but have essentially failed their own duties, with reports of stand-down orders at Florida, as from what we know now, 4 armed police officers waited outside the school as the massacre was happening, and how authorities have actively failed to heed the warnings that were there beforehand, failing to act from countless number of reports from people saying that this was going to happen, but yet were just ignored. All the while, the authorities are claiming amazing leadership through their failure, and as newly documents prove, the majority of the spying that is done by the government is done on innocent Americans, mainly because the intelligence agencies and authorities are more interested in mass data collection, having information on everyone, obviously because of power, instead of targeted surveillance on individuals that are troubled. And this is why mass surveillance is failing the American public, and people need to realize the authorities are not there to protect you, and legally do not have to protect you at all. And this is from a story that we originally broke, where the city of New York successfully in court argued that there is no legal duty to protect its citizens. Again, the link to that full story and video will be in our Steemit post, and it is a must watch, especially with all the events that are unfolding right now. And guess what? Just by talking about these issues, this video may be completely taken down, a strike might be put against my channel, or just may be permanently deleted. What we're ultimately seeing right now is a beta test towards full censorship, which, as I tell you, will happen eventually, with full cooperation from the mainstream media, which is trying to convince you that a small decentralized mom and pop news operation with which is pretty much people in their living room talking to each other, is the big threat against our way of life and is bad. Using, of course, our emotions against us and deflecting against the issues that really matter to us. Of course, not only feeding into the left-right divide, but shifting our focus against the things that are actually important, like how our wealth is pretty much being taken away from us, with an increasingly impoverished U.S. middle class that have to deal with gouging prices of things that are actually important, while things that pacify us are made cheaper. While major wars and conflicts are brewing right now, they still try to refocus your attention on what divides us, so we fight as much as we can amongst ourselves as they grab up all the power and control, which I think is personally happening right now, in my own personal opinion. What do you guys think? Do you think this is happening because it's incentivized monetarily with YouTube trying to become the new television? Or is there a bigger scheme here? Please let me know in the comment section below. I look forward to your comments. And as independent media, I do believe that all of us have to now strive to be better. Our clicks are more important than ever, and a lot of us have to stop being hyperbolic, sensational, sometimes lying for a political agenda, stop being a part of the left-right divide and conquer schemes, and ultimately decide to be a part of the establishment or anti-establishment. And I think I'm pretty clear where I stand on those lines. And again, because of that, if you appreciate what we do, make sure we can never be censored or deleted away from you by signing up on our email list. Which, by the way, we're not even sending out emails yet. It's just a backup for when the inevitable happens now. And slowly start exploring other alternative platforms like Steemit for your news and information. No matter what happens, it was you, the audience, that allowed this independent media organization to thrive. And it will be because of you that we will be able to survive. What we're dealing with right now is a lot of fear-based manipulation, with them trying to think that they could stop us, and they can't. Mainly because of you. And that's why I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more.